Alright, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I've been going through a series of video presentations based on the PowerPoint slides for Murock's HTML4 and CSS3 3rd edition, the book that we use for the Rankin Technical College Application in Web Development, or AWD1000, Web Development Technologies course. Alright, right now I am up to Chapter 7, how to work with lists, links, and navigation menus. And I removed a bunch of the stuff that I had here, but I had gone out to Murock, and from the book, right now I'm going to go over Chapter 7, and then afterwards Chapter 8 today. And that'll finish up Section 1. So we've done an introduction to web development, how to code, test, and validate a web page, how to use HTML to structure a web page. Then we had 3 straight CSS chapters, how to use CSS to format the elements of a web page, how to use the CSS box model, and how to use CSS for page layout. So now we're going to go into how to work with lists, links, and navigation menus, and end this first section on how to use responsive design. So, with that said, let's just begin. As always, not my intention to sit and read these to you, but what I plan on doing is going in and for at least most of the stuff that's in here right now, I plan on going in and giving examples using one or both of the files that I have been working with. I've got a couple HTML files and 1 or 2 CSS files. Alright, HTML for an unordered list with paragraphs and links. So you'll notice here what we have is we have an unordered list, a UL, which will naturally come up as filled in black dots. And for the list items, rather than having actual items, which we're probably used to, we instead have paragraphs, alright, which ends up looking like this. Now, one thing to realize when you're doing this, we talked about this in a previous paragraph, and that is that people who tend to go through websites, they're not your typical kind of reader. In other words, you don't go through a website and look at the content like you would if you were reading a book. If you're reading a book, you've got time, you take your time, you page through, you might go back and read a page, etc. Whereas typically with a website, you want to get in, get your information, and get out. Alright, so now notice they've got another, so we've got an ordered list here. So we've got, instead of having it look like this, it'll be 1, 2, 3. Alright, then we've got another heading. So we've got a heading here that says how to use Winzip Self-Extractor. And then before you start it, there's 3 things. And then how to create an executable file. And there's 3 things. But notice, with the second OL, they put start equal 4. Because if you didn't do that, you'd have 1, 2, 3, but these would begin with 1, 2, 3 again. So you can see what you have here. Alright? So that what that OL then did was it allowed you to, rather than starting at the default, which is 1, you can start it wherever you want. Alright. Here you'll notice that they have an unordered list within an unordered list. So the first LI here is, this is going to look pretty much the way it did before. Okay? Except what you have is you've got an unordered list, which is going to have these 2 LIs, the before you start the Winzip Self-Extractor and the how to create an executable file. And then you've got, for the ordered lists, they're inside or nested inside of, so the ordered lists are nested inside of the unordered list. Personally, I kind of think that one looks a little nicer. But remember, you could always go back out and using CSS, you could say remove these dots, you could add some spacing and virtually make this one and this one look identical. Next, they talk about a description list, and I have a tendency personally to not use these that often. More often than not, when you use the description list, it's used for something like perhaps at the end of a book or the end of an article where you have like a list of acronyms or something like that. But you've got the DL tags for description list, DT, which I've always been told stood for definition term or description term, and DD, which is the description itself. So inside of the DL, you've got the DT. Inside of the DT, you've got the DDs. All right, and you can see how it ends up looking here. It's automatically, in this case, it takes the term and it tabs it over or whatever to the right. All right, now let's talk a little bit about when you work with unordered lists, some of the properties. So you'll notice the first one is the list style type. And as mentioned here, these are the values that you can put in there, and there's actually one more that we'll get to, if not shortly, before the end of the chapter. The first is disk, and disk is the default. It's what you've already seen. All right, and that's the circle that's filled in. Circle is a circle that's not filled in. Square is a filled in square, and none. So if I set the list style type to none, all right, that's going to remove whatever we have at the beginning, period. All right, you can also use this list style image where you add your own image. I guess that's the other one. So you'll notice here we've got a circle, and here we've got a star. There's the circles, and there's the stars. And for the circle, it's just list style type circle. For the star, we actually come in and we grab a URL. So when you use this list style image, what you're able to do is to add your own image for your bullet tags. All right. So it allows you to do a little bit of customization. All right. For an ordered list, notice decimal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Decimal with a leading 0. I didn't even know that one existed. 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, etc. Lower alpha, so lowercase ABC. Upper alpha, so uppercase ABC. Lower Roman, so lowercase I, V, etc. or uppercase Roman. All right. So you can set them up to any one of these. Okay. And that's the associated CSS that you'd have with this. All right. Does that look better? I mean, again, you'd have to draw your own conclusions, but sometimes when you are creating something, be it for a web page or something else, you might want the look and feel almost of an outline. All right. And so a lot of times it really does pay to combine these things with ordered and unordered lists. All right. So they've got a list here of popular web browsers, and then they're coming in and they are aligning them. The first thing you'll notice if you look up here, for the H2 tag, the unordered list tag, and the list item tags, and that's what the LI stands for, is we're turning off all margin and all padding. And then for the unordered list, we're padding it to the left 1 where an M is equal to 16 pixels. All right, and for the LIs, we're padding them to the left 0.25 so 4 pixels, and adding 4 pixels of bottom padding. So you can see what happens here. Now, if you don't do that, especially with the LIs, they get pushed right to the edge right there. Doesn't typically look the way that you'd want it to look. All right. All right, some attributes of the anchor tag element. We've written anchor tags before, and we have basically just centered on the first attribute, which is href, which is hyperlink or hypertext reference. Okay, you can also add a title, a tab index, and an access key. So let's take a look at those. With the access key of C, what that should do is in order, when you work with that link, you should be able to do an Alt-C. Sometimes it's a Control-C. The tab index says some people today like to be able to tab their way when they're in a web page. They're, especially people who have been working in this field for a while. In fact, especially a lot of people in the administrative field, they're used to going through and iterating through a form using the tab key. All right. The title, notice that in this example here on the slide, they have put the cursor on the link itself, and the title gives you a tooltip. All right. Accessibility guidelines for links. If a text for a link has to be short, code the title attribute to clarify where the link is going. There shouldn't be any surprises. All right. Second, you should also code the title attribute if a link includes an image with no text. Think about why that's the case. Somebody especially who's using a browser for the blind or whatever. All right. Some of the common pseudo classes for formatting links. These are all for hyperlinks. To my knowledge, this is the order in which you're supposed to do them. Now, we did look at this in an earlier video, so I'll talk about them, but link is the color of the link. All right, when it's just, for lack of a better word, sitting there. And you know as well as I do that by default, the color of a link, it's going to be blue, and it's going to be underlined, kind of a royal blue. Visited kind of gets that purplish color, and that means you've already clicked on the link. And again, by default, it's automatically underlined. Hover is when you take your mouse and you put it over it. All right. Focus, I'm not real positive what that is. And active usually is when you clicked on the mouse and it's just, you're still clicking on it. Text decoration is typically used for turning off the underline in links, but it can be used for a lot of things. If you decide you would want to take a paragraph and underline it, you could do it with text decoration underline. That is highly not recommended. Most people in their mind's eye, so to speak, equate underlines with hyperlinks. All right. Border style, we've already talked about working with borders. We will a little more. So notice when we look at this, it says here the links on all these should be green. So when we look, there they are. All right. But then it says when we hover over them or they have the focus, what should happen is the one that's, you're going to try to basically make your active one, remove the underline and make it 1 1/4 the size. So you can see we've got our mouse over the third link. Again, with accessibility guidelines, apply the same formatting for hover and focus. That way the formatting is the same whether you hover the mouse over the link or you use the keyboard to tab to a link. And again, this stuff may not sound like it's all that important, but you've got to always consider your audience in mass. All right. Key point here, if you take a look at what's in the yellow, it's got target equal blank. Now, I'm going to go back to my code, and I want to show you something. I want to show you what's considered to be bad etiquette for the internet, or what's referred to as bad netiquette, and then how to fix it. All right? So, if you look right here, we've got this. We love this. We love the San Joaquin. All right? And kind of silly that I'm going to rank in here. Let's see. Is there a San Joaquin.com? No. All right, I'm going to at least go to a Wikipedia page on it. I think that's a little nicer. It's a little more reflective of what you really have here. How about we love to visit the city of San Joaquin, California. How's that? All right, so let's take a look at what that looks like. All right, we love to visit the city of San Joaquin. Click there, boom, we get to San Joaquin. Now, is that big a thing? No, but what I want you to realize, notice right here, this is our tab for what we're working on. So that's our tab for this document. When I click here, rather than opening it up in a new tab, which is considered better etiquette, all right, it's opening in the same tab. So I have to go back here to get back to my original tab. So how do I change that? Well, after my href and all this other good stuff that we've got right here, I'm going to hit enter before I get to the ending brace here, and I'm going to say target equals underscore blank. Just like that. Save it, and then let's run this again. Looks the same, but now notice I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tabs open right now. Let's make it 5 tabs open right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But when I click here, I open up a 6th. So now I can go back and forth between my page and what I just hyperlinked to. That's considered much better net etiquette, or as it's referred to, netiquette, to do that. And the reason for that is otherwise you can give the mistaken impression to people that even though you're going out to another site, that's still part of your site. That's just considered a bad way to do things. All right. So there they show you the 1 tab. Now you've got 2 tabs. All right. All right. A web page that links to topics on the same page. Now, what used to be much more in vogue when you wrote web pages, and this wasn't that long ago, we're talking 10, 15 years ago, all right, was when you created web pages, you used what were called frames. I'm not even going to go into them because they pretty much are gone today. But over here, rather than having your navigation bar up here and having it look real nice, you had a bunch of hyperlinks here. And every time you clicked a different hyperlink, what would appear here would change. I remember giving students an assignment years ago where they had to build themselves a little animal coloring book. And this went from A to Z over here. And you click A and it might give you a picture of an alligator. B might give you a picture of a bear. You get the idea. Now, what can confuse people, and I want to take a minute to go over this, is linking to placeholders on the same page. All right, see what it says there? ID, H1 ID equal top, reasons why trainers like our books. All right, and the point is, when you use this, you want to be able to jump to the top, all right, of the typically of the page, but it doesn't have to be. Let's see if we can make one of these. All right, so we've got this here, welcome, etc. I'm going to put in here ID equals top. All right, and I'm going to go and grab some text, and don't even know if I've shown you this before, but I'm going to right now anyway. And that is, what I'm going to do is, there are sites out there that have, for lack of better words, free text. It's garbage text, but I'm going to go out to Lipsum.org. I think that's the right name. Yep. And I'm going to grab myself 8 paragraphs. And there they are. So I'm just going to grab these and I'm going to throw them into my document. All right. Now that's a lot of text in there. Okay. And typically I'd come through here. I'd put a paragraph here. Oops. Not like that. Put a paragraph there. So there's a beginning paragraph. There's an ending paragraph. Okay, so let's quickly throw a bunch of those in there. Okay, and then let's grab these ending ones. There's a reason. As always, it may not seem like it at the time, but there's a method to my madness here. This is going to look a lot different when we run this, literally in a matter of seconds here. All right, so you'll notice when we look down here, we've got now, there's a lot more text. All right, we've made our page a whole heck of a lot bigger. All right, so why am I even showing you this? Well, let's take a look. Oops. All right, so it says 2 links that, boom, boom, boom. So jump to placeholders on the same page. That's what I want, is right here. I'm going to go and put in a bunch of places here. I'm going to tell it, when I click this link, return to the top of my document. Again, This will make more sense to you once you really start using it. But I'm going to come down, and for the last 4 paragraphs on the page, I'm going to do this. And we'll see if I did it correctly or if I screwed it up. Alright, so let's run this again. Let's go down near the bottom of our page. You see those return to tops. If I click, where am I? I'm back up at the top of the page. Alright, and the reason it didn't jump to the very top is it has to do with where I put the ID equal top. Okay, could take that and put it right up here. There. Now it is equated with the H1 that's at the top of the page. So let's run this again. Click return to top, and there I am at the top. Alright, so the idea behind this is I could link to other pages in my site. I can link to other pages in other sites. I can move around on the current page I'm at. Now, typically you wouldn't have pages probably that are this long, but you could, especially if it was a one-page website or what's called a SPA or a single-page application. But you'll notice now, when I click these, I'm jumping right back up to the top. All right? All right, some media formats. PDF. All right. WAV, MP3, MPEG, and MPG. So, an HTML link that displays a PDF in a new window. Not hard to do. All right, just to show you. Let's see if I've got a PDF hanging around. I know I do someplace. So I know I have a whole PDF directory. Let's see. So this is called this. I'm just going to use their format here. Heck, let's just grab this. Okay, I'm going to come back into the page we've been working on here. We'll put this up near the top, and we're going to put this, I want to make sure I give it the right name and the right path. So, let's bring up my desktop, and we can use, this was the one I was looking at, and it's create_first_Android book.pdf. C:desktop, C:users, Rankin, desktop. Alright, and one more time, I apologize for this. Create first Android book.pdf. Alright, read. We'll put here for our link, read another Android book. Alright. In fact, I'm going to grab that, put that here, and we'll see how this looks. There's read another Android book. I'm going to click here, and what you should notice is what opens up in another window is an Android book. In other words, it's a PDF. And how did I do that? I had to put the path, and I had to say that the type was an application PDF. And because I wanted to open it in another window, I needed a target equal blank, underscore blank. All right. You can play an MP3 file. I'm not going to show you that. In fact, you know what I will do? I will. I don't know if I have any MP3s, but I have an MP4. In fact, everything that I create for this class ends up in an MP4 file. Just to show you real quick, it's probably a lot more information than you're interested in, but I'm going to show you anyway. And that is so every time I create one of these, they end up like this. So I just grab one of these. This was the Chapter 1 stuff. And it comes up and it looks like that. Alright, now hopefully I didn't screw anything up by doing that, but I may have. I don't want this. But I just wanted to show you that. Alright, I am already at 26 minutes, which is way, way, way too long for this. But I'm going to stop right now and come back with a part 2 in just a minute.